Now we come to Sutta 127, Anuruddha Sutta. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then the carpenter Panchakanga addressed a certain man thus, "Come, good man, go to the Venerable Anuruddha, pay homage in my name with your head at his feet, and say, Venerable Sir, the carpenter Panchakanga pays homage with his head at the Venerable Anuruddha's feet, and say, Venerable Sir, let the Venerable Anuruddha and 3 others consent to accept tomorrow's meal from the carpenter Panchakanga, and let the Venerable Anuruddha arrive punctually, as the carpenter Panchakanga is very busy and has much work to do for the king." "Yes, sir," that man replied, and he went to the Venerable Anuruddha. After paying homage to the Venerable Anuruddha, he sat down at one side and delivered his message. The Venerable Anuruddha consented in silence. Then when the night had ended, it being morning, the Venerable Anuruddha dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went to the carpenter Panchakanga's house and sat down on a seat made ready. Then with his own hands, the carpenter Panchakanga served and satisfied the Venerable Anuruddha with the various kinds of good food. Then when the Venerable Anuruddha had eaten and had withdrawn his hand from his bowl, the carpenter Panchakanga took a low seat, sat down at one side, and said to the Venerable Anuruddha, stop here for a moment. So here you see this carpenter Panchakanga is not an ordinary carpenter. He's a carpenter to the king. So because he's an important man, has a lot of work to do. So you see he told this Venerable Anuruddha to arrive punctually. This is not normal to invite an Arahant and tell him, you come on time. The other thing is, you see, after the Venerable Anuruddha had eaten and withdrawn his hand from his bowl, in the early days, when the monks ate, they would put the bowl on their lap, the bowl on their lap, and they'd eat with their hands. Then later, there was a monk who was sick, very weak. So he could not hold the bowl properly or what. Then the Buddha allowed the monks to have a bowl stand. And also with the bowl stand, maybe it's a bit higher. So it looks like when the monks had finished their meal, they still keep the bowl on their lap, and they look when the other monks have finished eating, then they'll take the bowl and put aside, so it's no more with them. Then the host will know that they have finished their meal, and normally during the Buddha's time, after the monks finish their meal, as a sort of blessing, the monks will give a short teaching on the Dhamma, not necessarily a long teaching, sometimes just a few sentences. So here this carpenter Panchakanga, he wanted to learn some Dhamma, so he came near, sat on a low seat. Then he said to the Venerable Anuruddha, "Here, Venerable Sir, elder monks have come to me and said, Householder, develop the immeasurable liberation of mind. And some elders have said, Householder, develop the exalted liberation of mind. Venerable Sir, the immeasurable liberation of mind and the exalted liberation of mind, are these states different in meaning and different in name? Or are they one in meaning and different only in name?" And Venerable Anuruddha said, "Explain it as you see it, Householder. Afterwards it will be cleared up for you." "Venerable Sir, I think thus, the immeasurable liberation of mind and the exalted liberation of mind, these states are one in meaning and different only in name." Stop here for a moment. This carpenter Panchakanga, we have seen in some other sutta, that he's one of the strong supporters of the Buddha, and being one of those had a lot of faith in the Buddha and his disciples. He already knows some Dhamma. So here Venerable Anuruddha asked him to explain And he said, if it's not correct, he will clear it up, clear up the meaning. There are certain disciples of the Buddha, lay disciples, who are very knowledgeable in the Dhamma. One of them is Chitta. Normally, Chitta, when he invites monks to his house, after the meal, if they don't give a teaching on the Dhamma, he will ask them questions on the Dhamma. If they cannot answer, he will teach them the Dhamma. He's so good. He's an Anagamin disciple. And then the Venerable Anuruddha said, Householder, the immeasurable liberation of mind and the exalted liberation of mind, these states are different in meaning and different in name. And it should be understood as follows, how these states are different in meaning and different in name. But what householder is the immeasurable liberation of mind? Stop here for a moment. This immeasurable liberation of mind, the Pali word is appamana ceto vimutti. Appamana is immeasurable. Ceto vimutti is liberation of mind or liberation by mind sometimes. Here a monk abides pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the 3rd quarter, likewise the 4th quarter. So above, below, around, and everywhere, and to all as to himself, he abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, metta, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. He abides pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with compassion. Similarly, he abides pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with joy. He abides pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. This is called the immeasurable liberation of mind. So here the Buddha, Venerable Anuruddha is describing the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 divine abidings, metta, which is loving kindness, karuna, which is compassion, mudita, which is joy, and upekkha, which is equanimity. So here the Venerable Anuruddha says, this monk, he radiates these 4 things to the 4 quarters, and without limit, so it's called immeasurable. And what householder is the exalted liberation of mind? This exalted liberation of mind is Mahagata Ceto Vimutti. Mahagata Ceto Vimutti. Here a monk abides resolved upon an area the size of the root of one tree, pervading it as exalted. This is called the exalted liberation of mind. Here a monk abides resolved upon an area the size of the roots of 2 or 3 trees, pervading it as exalted. This too is called the exalted liberation of mind. Here a monk abides resolved upon an area the size of one village, pervading it as exalted, or an area the size of 2 or 3 villages, or an area the size of one major kingdom, or an area the size of 2 or 3 major kingdoms, or an area the size of the earth bounded by the ocean, pervading it as exalted. This too is called the exalted liberation of mind. It is in this way, householder, that it can be understood how these states are different in meaning and different in name. Stop here for a moment. So the first one was pervading these Brahma Viharas without a limit. That's why it's called immeasurable. The other one, the exalted one, is to a certain limit. This one, Mahagata, exalted, comes from Maha and Gata. Gata is gone, like the Tathagata, thus gone one. So Mahagata is gone a great distance or a great way. That's why it's called exalted. So the second one, there's a limit to it. The first one, there's no limit. There are householder. These 4 kinds of, here it says reappearance. Upapatti should be rebirth also can. These 4 kinds of reappearance in the future state of being. But for Here someone abides resolved upon and pervading limited radiance on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in the company of the gods of limited radiance. Here someone abides resolved upon and pervading immeasurable radiance on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in the company of the gods of immeasurable radiance. Here someone abides resolved upon and pervading defiled radiance on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in the company of the gods of defiled radiance. Here someone abides resolved upon and pervading pure radiance on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in the company of the gods of pure radiance. These are the 4 kinds of reappearance in a future state of being. Stop here for a moment. This one is referring to the radiance is Abhasara, the second jhana heaven. In the second jhana heaven, the gods of radiance, there are 3 types, 3 levels. The gods of limited radiance, the gods of immeasurable radiance, the gods of streaming radiance. So here it's only talking about the gods of limited radiance and immeasurable radiance. Then the other 2 that he talks about, this defiled radiance and pure radiance, are supposed to be subdivisions inside each one of these. Later you can see the meaning. There is an occasion, householder, when those deities assemble in one place. When they have assembled in one place, a difference in their color can be discerned, but no difference in their radiance. Just as if a man were to bring several oil lamps into a house, a difference in the flames of the lamps might be discerned, but no difference in their radiance. So too, there is an occasion when those deities assemble in one place. A difference in their color can be discerned, but no difference in their radiance. There is an occasion, householder, when those deities disperse from there. When they have dispersed, a difference in their colors can be discerned, and also a difference in their radiance. Just as if the man were to remove those several oil lamps from that house, a difference might be discerned in the flames of the lamps, and also a difference in their radiance. So too, there is an occasion when those deities disperse from there, and a difference in their colors can be discerned, and also a difference in their radiance. It does not occur to those deities. This life of ours is permanent, everlasting and eternal. Yet wherever those deities settle down, there they find delight. Just as when flies are being carried along a carrying pole or on a basket, it does not occur to them. This life of ours is permanent, everlasting or eternal. Yet wherever those flies settle down, there they find delight. So too, it does not occur to those deities. This life of ours is permanent, everlasting and eternal. Yet wherever those deities settle down, there they find delight. Stop it for a moment. This last part, like most beings in the world, we don't think about our life, how long it is, how short it is. We just enjoy. If we can enjoy, we just enjoy. So same with these deities. When this was said, the Venerable Abhya Kachana said to the Venerable Anuruddha, "Good Venerable Anuruddha, yet I have something further to ask. Are all those radiant ones deities of limited radiance, or are some of them deities of immeasurable radiance? By reason of the factor responsible for rebirth, friend Kachana, some are deities of limited radiance, some deities of immeasurable radiance. Venerable Anuruddha, what is the cause and reason why among those deities that have reappeared in a single order of gods, some are deities of limited radiance, some deities of immeasurable radiance? As to that, friend Kachana, I shall ask you a question in return. Answer it as you choose. What do you think, friend Kachana? When one monk abides resolved upon an area the size of the root of one tree, pervading it as exalted, and another monk abides resolved upon the area the size of the roots of 2 or 3 trees, pervading it as exalted, Which of these types of mental development is more exalted? The second, Venerable Sir. What do you think, friend Kachana? When one monk abides resolved upon an area the size of the roots of 2 or 3 trees, pervading it as exalted, and another monk abides resolved upon an area the size of 1 village, pervading it as exalted, or an area the size of 1 village and an area the size of 2 or 3 villages, or an area the size of 2 or 3 villages and an area the size of 1 major kingdom, or an area the size of 1 major kingdom, and an area the size of 2 or 3 major kingdoms, or an area the size of 2 or 3 major kingdoms, and an area the size of the earth bounded by the ocean, pervading it as exalted. Which of these 2 types of mental development is more exalted? The second, Venerable Sir. This is the cause and reason, friend Kachana, why among those deities that have reappeared in a single order of gods, some are deities of limited radiance, some deities of immeasurable radiance. Stop here for a moment. So here, Venerable Anuruddha is saying, those monks, when they develop this radiance, some they radiate to a certain limit. That's why they are born in the heaven of gods of limited radiance. Whereas there are some, their concentration is stronger, so they can radiate immeasurably. So they are reborn as gods of immeasurable radiance. Good, Venerable Anuruddha. Yet I have something further to ask. Are all those radiant ones deities of defiled radiance, or are some of them deities of pure radiance? In other words, each one of these, for example, inside the limited radiance or inside the immeasurable radiance, you have both these classes, defiled radiance and pure radiance. And Venerable Anuruddha said, by reason of the factor responsible for rebirth, friend Kachana, some are deities of defiled radiance, some deities of pure radiance. Venerable Anuruddha, what is the cause and reason why among those deities that have reappeared in a single order of gods, some are deities of defiled radiance, some deities of pure radiance? As to that, friend Kachana, I shall give a simile, for some wise men here understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Suppose an oil lamp is burning with impure oil and an impure wick. Because of the impurity of its oil and its wick, it burns dimly. So too, here among abides resolved upon and pervading an area with a defiled radiance, his bodily inertia has not fully subsided, his sloth and torpor have not been fully eliminated, his restlessness and remorse have not been fully removed. Because of this, he meditates as it were dimly. On the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the gods of defiled radiance. Suppose an oil lamp is burning with pure oil and a pure wick. Because of the purity of its oil and its wick, it does not burn dimly. So too, here among abides resolved upon and pervading an area with a pure radiance. His bodily inertia has fully subsided. His sloth and torpor have been fully eliminated. His restlessness and remorse have been fully removed. Because of this, he meditates as it were brightly. On the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the gods of pure radiance. This is the cause and reason, friend Kachana, why among those deities that have reappeared in the same order of gods, some are deities of defiled radiance, some deities of pure radiance. Stop it for a moment. So here, Anuruddha explains that, for example, when someone is practicing this limited radiance, there are some, there are 2 types. One is practicing, but his hindrances are not totally removed. There are still some bodily inertia, refers to the sluggishness, the dullness, the inactivity of the mind, and the sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse. So because of this, he meditates dimly. His mind is not so bright. Whereas the other one, He has removed all these hindrances, so his mind is strong and bright. So one is reborn among the gods of defiled radiance, the other one is reborn among the gods of pure radiance. When this was said, the Venerable Abhyakachana said to the Venerable Anuruddha, "Good Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Anuruddha does not say, 'Thus have I heard,' or 'It should be thus.' Rather, the Venerable Anuruddha says, 'These gods are thus, and these gods are such.' It occurs to me, Venerable Sir, that the Venerable Anuruddha certainly has associated with those deities and talked with them and held conversations with them. Certainly, friend Kachana, your words are offensive and discourteous, but still I will answer you. Over a long time I have associated with those deities and talked with them and held conversations with them." When this was said, the Venerable Abhyakachana said to the carpenter Panchakanga, "It is a gain for you, householder. It is a great gain for you that you have abandoned your state of doubt and have had the opportunity to hear this discourse on the Dhamma." That's the end of the sutta. So here this last part now, why he says your words are offensive and discourteous. Because some of these, like a monk's attainments, a monk is only supposed to discuss them with other monks, not with lay people. Because if he discloses his attainments to lay people, it's like showing off. It's not allowed in the Vinaya. So here this carpenter Panchakanga is in front of them. So this Venerable Abhyakachana is telling Venerable Anuruddha, "It seems like you have directly talked with these gods." So Venerable Anuruddha has to acknowledge that he personally talks with these gods. So that's why he said his words are offensive and discourteous. So this sutta is about this immeasurable liberation of mind, exalted liberation of mind by Venerable Anuruddha, because Venerable Anuruddha is a Arahant with the greatest heavenly eye. His mind has opened up so much that he can see 1,000 worlds like in the palm of his hand. His mind has opened up so wide that 1,000 world systems are just like in the palm of his hand.